Well, Ambassador, thank you very much for coming out to this interview. On behalf of the Korea Foundation for Advanced Studies, which is one of the sponsors of Beijing Forum, it is a great honor and pleasure to have you at the Beijing Forum 2015. Okay.
Let me say, I'm very happy to be here, very honored, and greatly honored to be interviewed by you for this.
Thank you very much. I'm really flattered.
Sure.
Okay, since you were UN's special envoy to Syria, let me start the interview with questions related to Syria. Okay. After you resigned as a UN special envoy to Syria, Secretary General Ban Ki-moon expressed his frustration, saying that you had faced almost impossible odds because the international community was hopelessly divided.
Yeah.
What were the biggest challenges in mediating some of the key players in the conflict, namely Russia, the United States, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and possibly the Islamic State?
Yeah. I think I said several times that Syria, just like any other conflict, the best way to solve it is by its own people. The people, that is the best. Unfortunately, the Syrians were not ready or capable at that time of getting together and solving their problem. The second best is their neighbors. Their neighbors go and say, it cannot continue like this, please stop, and how can we help you? And the neighbors were very, very divided, very, very divided. So you had to go to the third circle, as it were, which is the international community. And in the international community, the Russians and the Americans. And I must say, Hillary Clinton and Lavrov were extremely interested, and they disagreed on a lot of things, but they agreed on that this was a serious problem, and they were ready to work together. I brought them together on the 6th of December 2012. Yeah. Unfortunately, we didn't go very far. We had several discussions with the Russians and the Americans, but there was still a big gap between them. And I think the biggest gap was in the region, between Iran on the one hand and the other countries. Iran. Iran is a very, very big player there, between Iran and Hezbollah, which is very, very close to Iran. And then on the other side, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and so on. There was, for a long time, there was a resistance to what we were saying, what Ban Ki-moon and myself and Kofi Annan and so on were saying, that there is no military solution to this problem. There is none. At the beginning, they were resisting that. But then they started paying lip service to this. Everybody says there is no military solution, but everybody works for a military solution. Nobody really works for a political solution, except Ban Ki-moon and the people who are around him. So this was the big hurdle that we faced. And everybody thought that on the government on the one side, and those who supported it, Russia and Iran, and on the other side, the opposition and those who supported the opposition. Everybody said, we are going to win, we are going to win. But they didn't. None of them did. So that is why I thought that the best contribution I could make was by resigning and kind of ringing a bell. I say, danger, there is danger here. We are not getting anywhere. And this problem, and I said this also several times, a problem like Syria, you cannot keep it bottled up inside Syria. It will spill over in 1,000 ways. One of them was refugees.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know, everybody is talking about the refugees now because you have a few 100,000 that got there. But for God's sake, there are 4 million around the country. 4 million refugees. Tiny Lebanon. Lebanon is 4.5 million population. The total population of Lebanon is 4.5 million. They have almost 2 million refugees.
I see.
Yeah, the country is sinking under the weight of these refugees. And you see, when you have a problem like this, then you have smuggling of weapons, drugs, terrorism. That is necessarily going to happen if a problem is not solved. So this is what we were facing in Syria.
So you resigned from your post as a special envoy because of the deadlock between the key players.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, it looks like the situation in Syria seems to be growing worse day by day.
Absolutely.
And of course, as you said, the suffering in Syria seems to be spilling over to the neighboring countries. As
Absolutely.
you said, Lebanon and even the European countries.
Now it's reaching Europe. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. With all due respect to the odds against which you worked, could there have been anything or anything that might have changed the outcome in Syria?
As I told you, what needed to be changed is the attitude of the players at one level, either at the internal level, at the regional level, or at the international level. There's nothing else that can. So of course, you also had the possibility of one side winning, and either one side win, or then people will understand that there is no military victory possible. So let's look for political solution, and that did not happen. That did not happen at all, at any level, not inside Syria, not in the region, and not internationally.
So as you see, the prospect of a peaceful solution or political solution of the Syrian crisis is very dim.
No, there is a change now. There is a change now. This meeting that has taken place in Vienna, where you have exactly the people we wanted to see around the table. You have all the neighbors, including Iran, and you have the international players. The P5. So the P5 and the region are now talking. They have started talking. If those discussions are serious, then definitely we can get somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. At least we can be hopeful.
Yes, there is a qualitative change. Whether that is enough to get us to a solution anytime soon remains to be seen.
Well, in your keynote speech yesterday, you attributed the failure of the Arab Spring to reach Syria to the extremist groups, extremism, especially the Islamic State. So let me ask you a few questions about the rising threat of ISIS, Islamic State. Well, former British Prime Minister Tony Blair once said that the US-led invasion of Iraq was partly responsible for the emergence of the Islamic State.
At long last.
In the Middle East. Would you like to share your thoughts about this comment, about this issue?
Well, I think at long last, Mr. Blair is recognizing that what he and Mr. Bush did has created some problems. The invasion of Iraq was a catastrophe. Was a terrible decision. It has produced very little that is good. And there is no doubt that ISIS, or Daesh as we call it in the Middle East, is the direct product of the invasion. Direct product of the invasion. Yeah. So Tony Blair was right to say that some responsibility. No, it's a very, very big responsibility. You know, Mr. Bremer, who was the colonial ruler of Iraq for a few months, dissolved the Iraqi army. And most of the cadres of ISIS are these officers.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they were thrown out without pension, without salaries, without reason.
So they simply changed their course.
It's not as simple as that, but many of them are now running Daesh.
I see.
Yeah, sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Well, this is a reality, unfortunately.
I see. Okay, one of the biggest problems in fighting against Islamic State might be the growing number of young people from all over the world is joining the group.
Sure.
For example, a few months ago, a Korean youth joining the Islamic State made a hit headline in Korea.
Yeah.
So, well, why?
Was he a Muslim or?
Oh, no, non-Muslim.
Not even a Muslim. Yeah.
Non-Muslim Korean youth joined Islamic State. He joined the Islamic State after visiting Turkey. Actually, he visited Turkey with the sole purpose of to be in contact with the Islamic State.
Sure.
So he went through the Eastern Turkey, and then eventually he showed up as a member of the Islamic State. So what do you think are the factors that are attracting young people to the world's deadliest attack?
Well, this is, I mean, the story of this young Korean is very useful for us to understand some aspects of this problem. You know, there are in Europe, there are quite a few Muslim Europeans.
Of course.
Yeah, they are Muslims and they join Daesh. So they say it's Islam. You cannot say it is Islam. Your Korean has nothing to do with Islam. So what I tell my European friends is, please see what are the problems of your society. You know, how does your society produce, I mean, push young people to in this direction? You know, you must understand that in order to really deal with the problem. The two brothers who killed those journalists of Charlie Hebdo in France, they are of Algerian origin, but they were born in France. They were raised in France. So if they have, you know, something has happened to them, it has nothing to do with Algeria. It has a lot to do with France. So the French have got to ask themselves, what is in their society doing that? Yeah. Of course, you know, these people that come in, there's one guy from Korea. There are maybe 100 from the United States, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 from Europe. These are not the people who are making Daesh strong. The people who are making Daesh strong are the Iraqi soldiers and the recruits from Iraq mainly, much less from Syria. So you've got to see why Iraq is producing this. I mean, this thing now. I mean, in Iraq, definitely it is the American invasion and occupation. There's no doubt about that.
Okay, then in the case of the European countries, are you suggesting that European countries were not successful in integrating these Muslim citizens?
You know, I don't want to make judgments.
Right.
I'm inviting them to take a hard look at what is happening in their societies and decide, you know, by saying it is Islam, they are barking at the wrong tree. They are barking at the wrong tree. They should look at what is happening in their societies. Yeah, maybe this is, integration. Maybe it is something else. But it's a little bit too easy, and definitely not right to say it is Islam.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
I'm a Muslim, and I haven't joined Daesh.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is a related question. What is your assessment on the international community's response to the Islamic State activities or atrocities, so to speak? Do you think the anti-Islamic State coalitions effective?
No.
Have been effective, be it led by the US, be led by the Russia?
No, they are not, and they cannot be. The Americans have been bombing for 1 year now. 1 year. They have, thrown tons and tons of bombs. And I think Daesh maybe has lost some territory somewhere, but they have gained a lot of territory elsewhere. So I think you need much more than bombing campaigns. I said yesterday in my speech, bombing campaigns, whether it's one coalition or two coalitions, because the Russians are also bombing now, or 3 or 4, will not solve the problem. What you need is a political process for Syria and a political process for Iraq. I think this is an image from Asia, from China. You've got to take the water away for the fish to die. If the water is still there, the fish will still be there.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the Syrian refugee crisis. Now it has renewed concern that, maybe this concern may be far-fetched, but it renewed the concern that the Islamic State group fighters could be slipping into other countries in Europe.
Sure.
Further heightening the already intense hostility toward the Syrian refugees. What do you think would be possible solutions to the Syrian refugee crisis?
There's only one solution. That is a solution to the Syrian problem. That is how you can stop.
The fundamental solution.
That's the only one. That's the only one. Otherwise, people are desperate, and they will. Just imagine, people are facing certain death. They say, taking their kids for certain death, almost certain death. They go in those small dinghies, rubber dinghies. Look how desperate they are. So that is not going to stop until the Syrian problem is solved.
Yeah, I could see how desperate they were by watching the news reels.
Yeah.
They tried to cross the 4 mile distance, but from Turkey to the Greek islands. Island.
A lot of them died.
Riding a rubber boat, a rubber dinghy, or simply risking their lives on the life-saving jackets.
They're saving their lives and the lives of their children. So you see how desperate they are. The solution? Yeah, of course. You have got to stop these smugglers who are making a lot of money out of this desperate situation. There are many things that you can do to diminish. But if you want a solution to the problem, you have got to work harder at finding a solution to the Syrian problem.
I see. Okay. What is your advice to world leaders for the solution of the Syrian crisis, or the rebuilding Syria as the Syria we have loved and admires it. I think these are your own words.
Sure. Yeah. You know, I know Syria since 1958.
Uh-huh.
First time I went to Syria is in 1958. It's a beautiful country. It's great people. And you see, what was admirable is to see there, you know, Christians, Muslims, Kurds. It's the only place where people continue to speak the language of Christ. There are, you know, there is a village where people speak the language of Christ, Aramean. Aramean, yeah. So it's a very rich culture, and it's being destroyed. It makes you cry. It makes you cry, really. You know, I will not presume to advise anybody, but I think that you know, the world leader you are talking about are starting to understand that their interest is not served by supporting war in Syria. Their interests will be much better served if they support peace in Syria. So that is why I say there is a glimmer of hope now with these meetings that have started in Vienna between the P5 plus, I think, Germany and Italy and the countries of the region.
Well, in Korea we have an expression, watching the fire on the other side of the river. So you are not, presumably you are not affected by the fire.
Sure.
And to some extent you are even enjoying the scene made by the fire.
Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful sight. But, well, even the European countries were looking the Syrian crisis in that way before the refugee crisis broke out.
Yeah, sure.
Now, while the crisis is in a very critical condition, and it is growing worse by day, but still many other countries, many other leaders of many other countries are watching the crisis from the other side of the river, to rephrase the Korean proverb. What I think, as a member of humankind on this planet, we all must be concerned more about the Syrian crisis as a humanitarian crisis. What to say to the leaders of relatively unconcerned leaders? Well, Korea is a small country, but what about China?
Sure.
China may not be the richest country, one of the richest countries, but still it is one of the most powerful countries.
Sure. You know, I'll tell them, I will tell you rather, I don't talk to, I'm not in a position to talk to them, but in 1999, I was the special envoy for Afghanistan from 1997 to 99, 2 years. After 2 years, I went to the Security Council and I told them I'm giving up because I have tried everything I know and we didn't succeed. And the reason is that, you know, what took me to Afghanistan? You sent me to Afghanistan. You told me to go to Afghanistan. But you are not interested in Afghanistan. You are not interested at all in Afghanistan because it's a small, poor country, far away. So if the Afghans want to kill one another, who cares? Let them kill one another. And I said, but you are wrong. Because one day, Afghanistan, this poor little country, somehow it will explode in your face. Then came 9/11. Out of Afghanistan, New York and Washington were attacked. It's not on the other side of the river. It's on the other side of several seas and oceans. You know, you say we have a global village now. That's why Coca-Cola is everywhere. Korean goods are everywhere. Well, terrorism will also be everywhere. You see, the small villages for everything. It's not only for the good things. It is so. Yeah, you know, Korea, China, Canada, Argentina have got to worry about what is happening in Syria because it may reach them in 1,000 ways. You know, there will be no thousands of, hundreds of thousands of refugees in Korea from Syria, but it will reach you somehow. And if, I mean, for God's sake, if you say that there is a global village now, Syria is part of the global village with you. So you've got to worry about it.
Yeah, I fully agree with you that, globalization means not only the easy transmission of good things, but the transmission of bad things.
Weapons, drugs, epidemics.
Yes. Okay. Now turning to a related but broader topic. Not a small number of political scientists have questioned the compatibility or affinity between Islamic culture and liberal democracy. In your keynote speech yesterday, you claimed that the Arab Spring itself was an evidence against such a pessimistic view.
At the beginning, yes.
Yes. Since you specifically mentioned Sam Huntington's Clash of Civilizations, and I, as a former student of Huntington's, I feel somewhat obliged to say his Clash of Civilizations is a somewhat subtler than it appears. According to him, the onslaught of the Western ideas and values, universal ideas and values, brought about a return to the roots movement in the non-Western parts in reaction to the onslaught, resulting in the rising identification with the what he called civilization. So when we see the issue like this, whether civilizations clash or not, depends on which of the two. Acceptance of Western universal ideas or resistance to them prevails over the other. So Huntington predicted that the resistance to the Western ideas would prevail over acceptance of them in many parts of the world. Okay, in your view, which of the two would prevail? Obviously, you're viewing that the Western universal ideas will prevail over these return to roots or fundamentalist movement.
It will be difficult for me to quarrel with you over an issue that you understand so much better than I do. But so let's forget about Huntington.
Okay.
Let's forget about Huntington. What is happening is that you have a lot of people in the West who says we have a problem with Islam. You know, the Prime Minister of Hungary, I mean, it's quite understandable that he would say we are a small country, this is too many people, we can't accept them. No, he said we don't want Islam. These people are not going to him because they are Muslims. They are going to him because they are fearing for their lives.
Right.
So they are human beings. So there is a hostile attitude to Islam in lots of places. That is definitely wrong. You know, Islam is a religion. As I told you, I am a Muslim. Hungary has nothing to fear from me, and from the 99.9999 of Muslims. There are a few people who are Muslims, and one Korean, who are, maybe a threat to this Prime Minister of Hungary. So, but there is a hostility to Islam. You have a lot of political parties in Europe now that are making this an issue. In Switzerland, they had what they call a votation, a referendum, on the building of minarets. The people who voted against it probably never saw a minaret. And then, who is going to build minarets in every village in Switzerland? They had a votation saying, no, we don't want any minarets in Switzerland. So there is a hostility to Islam. And this is done on behalf of what they understood a clash of civilization is. That is what I reject. The values of the West, they themselves say these are not Western values, they are universal values. If they are universal values, let's discuss how good they are. Yeah? I have a right, as much as you, Korean, and your American friends, to discuss. If they are Western, and you say this is Western, you've got to accept it. That I don't agree. So there is, you see, there is a mixture. You see, not all people, even in the West, when they are justly proud. They have every right to be proud of what they have achieved. But when they come and try to sell you that, they do it on behalf of a lot of ideas that they have behind their heads and so on. So I have no problem with Sweden, and I'm a great admirer of what the Swedish people have achieved for themselves. And if I could achieve it in my country, I'll be very happy, very, very happy about that. But to come and say this is what you have got to do today and tomorrow and after, because I do it, because I know better than you. That I say no. I know also a little bit about what is happening in my country.
Basically, you're saying there is no fundamental conflict between the Western, non-Western ideas, and in a sense, and you're also saying that the hostility toward certain ideas, values, or from the non-Western world are biased.
No, what I mean is, look, if you come to me and tell me you've got to organize elections, great, the idea of election is great, but don't tell me how and when to organize those elections. And as a matter of fact, we have made in the United Nations lots of mistakes by forcing elections too early and so on. So if I discuss that, I'm not against Western values. I'm not against anything really, but I'm looking at the situation and understanding it in a different manner from you. So let's discuss it as grown-up people and see what is good and what is not good.
So you should we're open to diversity.
Absolutely.
Without imposing a certain.
You see, this is what I started telling about Syria. What is beautiful? What was beautiful about Syria was this diversity. I had friends in Syria. For 20 years, I didn't know that they were Christians.
I see.
Yeah, who cares? You see, I have friends who are Shia and Sunni. Until now, I don't know whether they are Shia or Sunni. In Lebanon, in Iraq, and in Syria. So, diversity is, I think, is a reality that we should preserve. I told my European friends, because they are, they privilege Christians, give them visas. I say, great, give visas to Syria. but please don't give them nationality, because we want them back. We want them back in Iraq, we want them back in Syria, we want them back in the Middle East.
Well, as you know, the overarching theme of Beijing Forum has been for the last 12 years, has been the harmony of civilization and prosperity for all since its inception. Since you have been extensive experiences in the field of conflict resolution, peace making, and peacekeeping, well, what do you hope this particular forum, Beijing Forum, will achieve?
I don't know what you will achieve. What I do know is that
your hopes,
your slogan is a beautiful one. And in the global village, if we really believe that it is there to stay, I think your ideal, I think is a very welcome one, and I hope that it will be embraced by everybody. There are several civilizations in the world. People eat differently, dress differently, sing differently, and that's beautiful. So let's preserve that, and let us know more and more about one another. As a matter of fact, definitely, over 100 years, things are going to merge. There will be a lot of cross-fertilization between civilization. It is going to take place. We could also, and this is what the extreme right in Europe and I think in the United States are preaching. No, leave us alone. Don't change anything here. We perhaps can change others, but don't touch us. That's a pity. That's a great pity. Initial resistance is understandable. The first time you see Arabic food, you find it strange. The first time I see Korean food, I find it strange. But if I have the courage to say, let's see why these Koreans eat like this. Perhaps I like it. Yeah. So there will be cross-fertilization if we allow it to happen. And this is where leadership is important. Leadership in politics, leadership also in academia, in the thinkers, the writers, the poets. I think it's terribly important to make this global village a village where people are comfortable with one another. And I'm a great believer that this is possible. And so I'm attracted by your forum because, and that's why I quoted from the president of China, and what he said was beautiful. Now let's make it happen.
Yeah. Well, psychologists have been studying whether increased contact increases conflict or cooperation, and sometimes they found that increased contact simply means more conflict than cooperation. Well, the same thing may happen between civilizations and cultures. And as you said, I think we must be open to diversity and more ready to accept to learn from other civilizations and cultures.
Of course. Yeah, but this is, you are quite right to put it in this way, because, Korea will most probably never have any problem with Iceland.
Who knows, as you said.
But,
it may reach our shores.
yeah, but you are more likely to have a problem with your neighbor.
Right, that's
And
true.
even in, if I live if I live in New York, I'll have most probably an argument with the man who lives in the next apartment. Either I make too much noise, I leave my dirt in front of his door. It's less likely that I have a conflict with somebody who lives at the other end of Manhattan. So yes, the proximity breeds, could breed reasons for conflict, and this is where leadership comes in. That is how leadership prevents conflict from happening and solves conflict rapidly when it does occur. So yes, we are not going to have a paradise on Earth. We are human. The Earth is becoming smaller and smaller. We are going to have all sorts of problems. We have social problems, trade unions, fighting against capital and so on and so forth. And this is where, as I said, you need leadership. You need leadership. You need educators, so that we can be tolerant inside one country, inside one village, inside one country, inside one region, and inside the planet.
Well, thank you very much, Ambassador, for being gracious with your time.